The next question is, legislation like Prop 39 and Measure G have resulted in OUSD public schools and charter schools competing for resources. How will you navigate this situation to ensure equitable distribution of resources, funding, and access to district-owned property?
I mean, from my understanding, Prop 39 has been misinterpreted by the district. It's been used to take property and give it to charter schools for cheap leases. I know I was just at the Kaiser property the other day, and there were 3 OUSD people saying they were counting classrooms. I'm like, really? During COVID, it takes 3 of you? What's happening? And so I think that Prop 39 needs to be reinterpreted by the school board, and it needs to be clear that our district-owned property belongs to the children in the public school system. It's an asset. It's something we own. It's, you know, land, especially in the Bay Area, is at a premium, and that belongs to our students. And if we have too much of it, we should not be doing things like renting 1000 Broadway. We should be utilizing that space for our programs, and if it's surplus, the community needs to make that decision, not people outside of the community or who have no investment in how that property interacts with the neighborhood. Because even if they're vacant, it's still, the neighborhood has input and value and that they're assigning to that property. So I think Prop 39 and things like Measure G, I don't know about how to be equitable with charter schools. I think they should kind of be on their own unless they're very unique in how the district needs to support them, which at this point, I just don't see that in very many of the schools.
Thank you.
So legislation like Prop 39 and Measure G have resulted in OUSD public schools and charter schools competing for resources. How will you navigate this situation to ensure equitable distribution of resources, funding, and access to district-owned property?
Interesting question. I'm actually on the Measure G committee, so I see quite a bit going on there. And it doesn't appear that charter schools are actually getting funds from Measure G. Measure G1, yes, but not Measure G. I understand the district has financial issues where they are trying to balance their budget, move funds around. One of the things I don't necessarily agree with the district is they say that the #1 priority is to pay teachers, make salary. I think the #1 priority for a district is to teach students. And if everything else falls under that, teach the students with good teachers, teachers that are paid well, teachers who feel comfortable coming to work for the pay that they receive and can afford to live within the district. So charter schools competing for resources, yes, they compete for resources in ways that most people don't understand. It's not just about the funds that they get from students. They also compete for the same grant funds. And with that, it's up to the grantor to determine who they want to give funds to. But I do believe that actually does put a strain on the district itself. And in some form, some way, I have not come to a conclusion. That is something that we definitely have to figure out on the school board, how to get charter schools and district schools on the same page, not necessarily competing for what really amounts to limited funds, but also opening up our opportunities on where we actually get funds from.
So legislation like Prop 39 and Measure G have resulted in OUSD public schools and charter schools competing for resources. How will you navigate this situation to ensure equitable distribution of resources, funding, and access to district-owned property?
Yeah, so it really feels like things are out of balance, right? That, and I think again, you have a school board that has not held a clear vision of how to hold charter schools accountable. So I think one of the main things will be, in terms of specifically Prop 39 or just overall, I think Prop 39 refers to specifically, co-locations and charter schools getting access to school district sites to be on school district property. I think there's been just overall kind of not a carrot and a stick approach. It's kind of all carrot and no stick in terms of offering charter schools long-term leases, being really lenient in the charter school renewals. So I think we just have to really hold the line. What we see with charter schools is they're not educating students with special needs equally. They don't serve our newcomer students equally. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence showing that they're, pushing out students who have behavioral problems, and students are coming into the district mid-year. And so we really have to hold the line and have a much stricter oversight of the charter schools. And then in terms of the long-term leases, we need to drive a much harder bargain. I mean, we shouldn't be offering 50-year leases to schools that we don't know what they're going to be like in 10 years, even 5 years down the road. So I think really it's become a competitive environment, and that's not the way it should be. It should be, there should be like, there was the idea of cooperation with charter schools, and they're not cooperating when we're cooperating with them, but they're not cooperating back, right? So I think we need to, if it's going to be this kind of competitive environment, then we need to hold the line and really hold them to a higher standard.
Thank you.